Hello again, as always, it is me, Indah Melindasari from ONEderland Consulting. I have over 10 years experience as a migration agent and was once a migrant myself. Please click subscribe to get all the best Australian immigration content and updates. Well, it feels like it's been an eternity of waiting, but now finally and officially, Australia has opened its international borders to all Australian visa holders that are fully vaccinated. There is still a long road ahead to get back to migration and arrival numbers pre-pandemic, but this is still a huge step back to normality. Before we start, I would like to give a mention to our sister company, Education One Australia. They handle all aspects of international study in Australia, from finding you right course and institution to assisting you in any issues that may come up, such as COE and student visa cancellations or refusals, and helping you plan your post-study career and visa pathway. With us at ONEderland Consulting, as their in-house migration agent, we provide our expertise, knowledge, and experience to handle any visa matters involved in your studies, just as we do for all our valued clients. Education One has all your international study needs covered. So if you and a family member is interested in study in Australia or needs assistance, reach out to this wonderful team. You can find a link to their contact information and website in the description. Now, let's get started with the latest immigration news for April 2022. Part 1. Update on borders and travel restrictions. Biosecurity emergency measures to be lifted. Part 2. Changes to business and work visas. Permanent residency requirements for short-term stream visa 482 holders, changes for the 408 visa Australian government endorsed event or COVID-19 pandemic event. Part 3. Other immigration and visa news. Refugee and protection visa available for Ukrainian passport holders and 6 months extension for those in Australia. Alright, let's start with part 1. Update on borders and travel restrictions. As announced by the Minister for Health, Greg Hunt, Australia will not be renewing the state of biosecurity emergency when the current validity period ends on April 17. But what exactly does this mean for international arrivals? Well, most significantly for fully vaccinated travelers, it will mean that you no longer need to show a negative COVID prior to departure for Australia. Whether this means an end to quarantine has not been confirmed, but many states and territory regulations are that quarantine is only necessary until a negative COVID test has been evidenced. Also announced in the media release was that cruise ship will also be allowed back into Australia, and measures to prevent any unnecessary price increase on rapid antigen tests as stocks in the country are sufficient now. One measure that will remain in place is the requirement for international arrivals into Australia to wear a mask while on board the aircraft. Alright, let's move to part 2, changes to business and work visas. A welcome change that many temporary workers on temporary skill shortage subclass 482 visas have been waiting for. The government has announced that there will now be a direct pathway towards permanent residency for those under the short-term stream. Previously, the pathway towards PR of the short-term stream had 2 major barriers. The first being the subclass 186 Employer Nomination Scheme visa, which is the pathway towards PR for the medium stream pathway, did not occupation that are listed on the short-term skill occupation list that is used for the short-term TSS 482 visa. The other obstacle was that the short-term stream is only granted for 2 years, whereas the requirement of years working for the same employer under the 482 to be eligible for the employer nomination PR 186 visa was 3 years. The 3-year requirement is still in place, meaning that to get a PR from the short-term 482, you will have to apply for a second short-stream 482, but you can apply only 1 year into your second 482 visa. This does not mean that everybody on the second short-term 482 can now apply for PR, as you will still have to meet the requirements of the 186. The main difference being that there is no age requirement on the short-term 482, but to apply for the subclass 186, you need to be under 45 years old. Note that you must be working for the same employer for the 3 years on the short-term 482, and that this must be the same employer that nominates you for the 186 visa. Also, these changes do not come into effect until July 1st of this year, so we'll have to wait until after the date to apply for the 186 visa if you are eligible through these changes. Another temporary work visa that has been popular recently is all undergoing a series of changes. Temporary activity visa, the subclass 408 COVID-19 pandemic event. This stream has been used to allow those that had no way of returning to their home country during the pandemic, and those that were working on a temporary visa in a critical sector to remain longer in Australia. The first change announced regarding the 408 COVID visa was to allow the temporary visa holders with work rights to access visa 408 for up to 12 additional months if working or intending to work in a key sector, or 6 months if working or intending to work in any other sector. This means that if you are currently in Australia and holding a temporary visa with work rights, you may be eligible to apply for visa 408 even though you are not working in the critical sectors. You may be eligible or able to apply for the visa for up to 90 days before your visa expires. If you are granted visa 408, the following conditions will apply to you. If you are granted a visa 408 and are not working in the critical sectors, you may remain in Australia for up to 6 months. If you are granted a visa 408 and you work in the critical sectors, you may remain in Australia for up to 12 months. The new changes mentioned are only available in the temporary visa holders who were in Australia before 21st February 2022 or arrived in Australia after 21st February 2022 on a visa with work rights, or have a job offer from the Commonwealth funded aged care at the time of application. After this announcement, a new regulation was added that potential applicants did no longer need to be working in critical sectors, and open it up to people currently working in sector whose work visa may be close to expiring. The new eligibility criteria for this visa are as follows. The applicant is in Australia and last day arrived in Australia before 21st February 2022 and is working or in receipt of an offer to work in Australia, or is employed by or in receipt of an offer and employment from a Commonwealth funded aged care service, and either holds a relevant temporary visa with work rights that is 90 days or less from ceasing to be in effect, or held a relevant temporary visa with work rights that cease to be in effect not more than 28 days before the application for the subclass 408 visa is made, or holds a subclass 403 season worker visa that is 90 days or less from ceasing to be in effect, or held a subclass 403 seasonal worker visa that ceased to be in effect not more than 28 days before the application for the subclass 408 visa is made, and is employed by or received an offer of employment from an approved employer under the seasonal working program. These changes will open this visa to a much wider range of workers and also allows employer to hold onto the employees they so desperately need at the moment. Australia now looking to recover economically from the pandemic, and they are looking at ways to fill worker shortages in all sectors, and these concessions for temporary workers to extend their time in Australia and also help businesses from losing any more employees. Part 3. Other immigration and visa news. Our last news for today is regarding the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and Australia's response to the resulting refugee crisis. This past month, the world has been shocked and appalled by the actions of the government of Russia and their invasion of Ukraine. With several cities in the country becoming battlegrounds, many citizens, mostly women and children, have had to flee their homes, and the UN estimates that as many as 4 million people have left the country. In an effort to ease the crisis, the Australian government has to provide a 6-month automatic visa extensions for Ukrainian passport holders and their family members who are in Australia. It is applicable for those Ukrainian passport holders who were in Australia on the 23rd February 2022 and held a valid visa which will otherwise cease before the 1st of July 2022. In addition to this, the Australian government has been prioritizing applications submitted by Ukrainian nationals with 5,000 visas already processed, including the arrival of some 750 Ukrainians. The department will make available a temporary humanitarian, the subclass 786 visa to all Ukrainian temporary visa holders that currently offshore or in Australia. The department will make available a temporary humanitarian visa who arrive in the coming months. And this visa will allow people to work and access Medicare and appropriate associated support services and will be valid for 3 years. School-aged children will also be able to continue their education. Well, that's the run-up of all the changes and updates for April 2022. If you have any questions about how these changes may affect you or benefit you, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, leave a comment or questions, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. You can find our contact details in the description and in the comments, so feel free to send an email or call with an inquiry, and our advisors will be there for all your visa needs. ONEderland Consulting is here to help you. As always, thank you for watching.